Quran, read the Quran. Why? Because the Prophet is never going to forget the Quran. He's never going to forget the Quran. So that mudarasa, muraja'a, Jibreel alayhi salam, that's just a set of sunnah, not because he needs to revise it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى. We're going to read it to you such that you're never going to forget it. فَلَا تَنْسَى. So when the Prophet sits in the masjid in i'tikaf, reading the Quran to Jibreel alayhi salam, that's just a sunnah for you and I, telling us, you go into the masjid i'tikaf, you sit down and you start reading the Quran together. Just as he's who didn't need to read on Jibreel alayhi salam. He's not going to make any mistakes. The Prophet is preserved with him, but he showed us the way. So we become Ahl al-Quran, become people of Quran in the month of Ramadan. This is perhaps the most important ibadah to do, along with your salat al-tahajjud, to do with in the month of Ramadan is Quran. Ahlul Qur'ani ahlullahi wa khassatuh. Prophet said the people of the Quran are the people of Allah subhanahu, his special ones, his unique ones. People of Allah subhanahu, those whose dhikr is Quran. The Prophet ﷺ told us, he said, من شغله قراءة القرآن أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whoever is busy by reading the Quran, عن ذكري ومسألتي أعطيته أفضل ما أعطي السائلين. Whoever is busy by reading the Quran, from doing dhikr and from making dua, I will give him better than anything that those who ask are given. And with the maqam of the dhakir, الذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرين, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given a unique rank to people of dhikr. And the dua is special with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you see somebody doing dhikr, sits in the mosque doing dhikr, great ibadah. You see somebody who's in the depths of the night raising down, beseeching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, great. So just sit there and read Quran, you get better than the both of them. Because the maqam of the qari al-Quran is greater with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the dhakir and the da'i. The maqam, the rank of the one who reads Quran is greater. So make the Shahrul Quran, because it is Shahrul Quran, it's the month of Quran. Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. It's the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed. It came down from al-Lawh al-Mahfuz to Bayt al-Izzah in the second descent. First descent is to Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet. Then from the preserved tablet, it comes down to Bayt al-Izzah. Bayt al-Izzah is the house of worship, just as we have Kaaba on this earth. Bayt al-Izzah, the house of honor, is on the lowest heaven, the first heaven, around which angels do tawaf. The Quran comes down in one go on Laylat al-Qadr in Ramadan to Bayt al-Izzah, and then from there it descends. The first time that the Quran comes onto earth, onto planet earth, first time it comes is in Ramadan, ala qawl al-jumhur, according to the opinion of the majority. It's Ramadan when the Prophet faces and meets Jibreel alayhi salam in Ghari Hira, in the Mount Hira, and he tells him Iqra, and he's given Quran. It happens in the month of Ramadan. So Ramadan is significant with the Quran. Ramadan is significant with the Quran, and we should build that relationship to the Quran within the month of Ramadan, and we should maintain that relationship with the Quran outside of the month of the Quran. So become Ahl al-Ibadah, become people of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran, people of Quran, Ahlul Quran. The second aspect that we need to look at is that when we give up food and drink, it weakens the passions of the soul. It weakens the passions of the soul. The more that you eat and drink, the more prone you are to sin. The more that you eat and drink, the more prone you are to sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes that out of your equation. The only reason why you sin in the month of Ramadan is now just pure nafs, pure corrupted nafs. It's a soul that's been corrupted. Without food and drink, the only excuses that are left now, shaitan is out of the equation. He's chained up. Food and drink, that increases the passions of the soul. That's out of the equation. The more, and particularly the more dangerous one is the sexual passions. The more you eat and drink, the more a person has sexual desires. But likewise others, the sins of the eye, the sins of the tongue, the sins of the ear, the sins of the hand, the sins of the feet. All of these, if you eat, you're more likely to lie. If you eat, you're more likely to look at haram. Because your soul is stirred. Your lower nafs, your lower soul, your lower ego is stirred. It's been fed fuel. Take that out of the equation. food and drink, what's left? All that's left then is just your nafs, a corrupted soul. If in the month of Ramadan we're still sinning, we've got nothing to blame except for ourselves. And what Ramadan then does, because shaitan's out of the equation, food's out of the equation, what it does, it's a mirror into our souls. It's a glimpse into our souls. It's a portal into our very being. We now see where we are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We now see how distant we are from the purified soul that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed into the womb of our mother. We came as a pure soul, no sin. Then we see 20, 30 years on how far away we've come from that. And our struggle in life, we want to leave this world as a pure soul. We came in as a pure soul, we want to leave this world as a pure soul. We want to hear the angel of death saying, Ya ayyatuha an-nafsul mutma'innah, O purified soul, O content soul. We came into this world pure, we want to leave this world pure. Sin is what changes down, sin is what cages us, sin is what soils our soul. Food's out of the equation. We need to think now about sin in this month. Just as we think about ibadah, preparing for Ramadan is ibadah, is worship. Likewise, our preparation for Ramadan is think about those sins that we commit. And think about the major sins that destroy us. Because we've got al-mubiqat, the destructive sins, the destroyers of the human being. And the Prophet spoke about many destructive sins. But we want to talk about the most destructive sin in that most people engage in it but don't think about it, is the sins of the tongue. The sins of the tongue. The sins of the tongue are the most destructive sins that a person can face. Why? Because whenever you commit a sin, if you say a word of lie, it has an impact upon your soul. If you lie, it has an impact upon your soul. Next time you want to come and read Quran, say that lie that you said may well act now as a bar for you from you coming to Quran. You speak ill about somebody, you belittle somebody, you mock somebody, you spread tales about somebody, you're gossiping, you're backbiting, you're swearing false oaths. All of these kind of things. And people will joke when they joke, they'll lie when they're joking. These are so common, these are such common diseases. So just think about the impact it's having on the soul. Your soul is pure, your soul is created pure. Every time you say a word that's a lie, you put something onto your soul, a mark onto your soul that takes the nature of these marks. It's the ran. Allah SWT describes it as ran, kalla bal ran, and this sector which is wajibah. Now you have to stop there. Why? To pause and reflect. Kalla bal rana ala qulubihim. Reflect over that rust that you placed on your soul. So you're going to clean that rust out now in this month of Ramadan, because over 11 months of this year now we've built up dirt in our soul, we've filthied our soul, polluted our soul. We're now turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month through Quran. And the Imams of spirituality, they mention this, that perhaps the most powerful cleanser of the soul is reading the Quran in the depths of the night. Reading the Quran in the depths of the night. Just stand in front of your Lord, read Quran, and you can sit there and do all the dhikr you want. You can have suhbat al-salihin, just those moments with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It works on the soul like nothing else. So all that rust that's built up on our hearts, all that rust that's built up on our soul, that needs cleaning out now. That needs cleaning out. You've got some metal that's built up rust, it needs washing out. Allah subhanahu has given us a quick way of washing it out. Read the Quran in the depths of the night in the month of Ramadan. The effect, our souls will become munawwara, we will become munawwareen, we will become illuminated people, hearts are illuminated. And that's why, and why is it Ahl al-Tahajjud, those who worship at night and read Quran, how does Allah subhanahu describe them? Simahum fi wujuhim min athari sujood. There's marks on their faces from the traces of sujood. What's the mark? It's nur al-Quran, it's nur al-Iman. You can see somebody who's prays at night because his face beams during the day. And that's the reward that Allah subhanahu gives that person. So we move into this month, what we need to reflect over is the sins that we commit. And make a resolve, Ramadan resolution that we have. And because of my fast, I'm not going to do this sin. Because of my fast. Because believe me, as the Prophet ﷺ told, if we sin in this blessed month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu doesn't want us to fast. Allah subhanahu doesn't want us to fast. Allah subhanahu is not really interested in the food and drink. He wants us to become ahl, ashab, la'allakum tattaqun, people of la'allakum tattaqun. And without that, people who draw near to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we just stop and think about food and drink and nothing like that, there's nothing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Food and drink is not the issue. Allah subhanahu wants ibadah. Allah subhanahu wants tark al-ma'asi. He wants us to worship Him. He wants to draw near to Him through the Quran. He wants us to stop committing sin. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentioned in the hadith that the one من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به, the one who does not stop making false statements, قول الزور, lying, والعمل به, and act in accordance with it. The Prophet said, فليس لله أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. Allah subhanahu has no need for him to give up his food and drink. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for him to give up his food and his drink. No. So what we need to think about is that if and in truth we're all people of sin. We're all people of sin. Most of us, we hope and we pray and we wish that Allah subhanahu raises up in us in ranks with Him subhanahu. So we're in the rank of the Siddiqeen, in the rank of the righteous, the Salihin. But for most of us, the reality is that we're at a low level of faith, we're at a low level of amal, and if we're real with ourselves, we know ourselves, we know where we're at. But what we need to be truly real to ourselves, it's about recognizing where we fall short with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and trying to eliminate that from ourselves. This month gives us a chance. If I or anybody is somebody who have a problem of lying, we always lie. It's a month to give it up. Make it a resolution, make a lot of dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When your slave asks me, when my slave asks you about me, I am near. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. I answer the call of the one who makes dua when he calls me. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا. So respond to me. This ayah comes in the middle of the ayat al-siyam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 3 verses before, talks about the rule of fasting. Then the verse that comes after, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ, talks about a bit more detail about fasting. Ahkam of fasting come in about 5 verses in Surah Al-Baqarah. They're the only verses talking about fasting. Bang in the middle, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you to make dua. He tells you to make dua. And the secret to that is that in the month of Ramadan you have moments and moments and moments of dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you, as I'm talking about rules of fasting, don't forget to make dua. Don't forget to make dua. And we have moments every single day when that feast is out in front of you for iftar. Stop thinking about the food, and as you break your fast, make a dua. Make a dua, because the one who breaks his fast, the sa'im, has a da'wah mustajaba inda Allah ta'ala. So now that you're going into the moments of fasting, and you want to give up sin, and sin is difficult to give up because sin changes down. Sin changes people. There's an addiction to sin. There are people who genuinely want to give up sin, but because they've been doing so long, they're just so used to it that even though they want to give it up, they just can't give it up. What's the key? Dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have a problem with your tongue, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bring my tongue under control. You have a problem with your gaze and you just like looking at women all the time, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have a problem with overeating, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever the problem is, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At that moment where you break my fast, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just break my fast, break my soul. Break my soul. Kasr shahwat, kasr al-nafs. Break my soul, bring it on this. Bring my soul as a subjugated servant to you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because without it, we're not really going to get much out of it. So when we're talking about preparation for Ramadan, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about ibadah, and we're thinking about tark al-ma'asi. Without it, Ramadan is wasted, and it will come and it will go, and it will come and go, and it will come and go for the rest of our lives. And all we're stuck at is just food and drink. And it's just a month of feasting. That person, that believer, who struggles with his soul and struggles with worship, and in the last day he tires himself out, as he sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, tires himself out. Every single one of us should try and take time out in the last 10 days. Tire yourself out and worship. Don't relax. The Prophet when the last days came, he never slept. He would wake up his family shadda mi'zarahu, tie his belt. That's it, he's now into ibadah. And even, and some riwayat, some narrations mention, Prophet ﷺ did not have a sahur in the last 10 days. His iftar was his sahur. He didn't have time to eat. He didn't have time to eat. When he broke his fast, his niyyah that was for sahur as well. And he's gone now into complete turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All his thoughts are, that person, Eid, celebrates it. But if our month is a month of feasting, Eid is no different to Ramadan. Eid is no different to Ramadan. So reflect over how we need to view Ramadan. Reflect over what we really want to get out of Ramadan, what it is about, and understand it's not about giving up food and drink. It's giving up our passion, it's giving up sin, and it's turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our entirety. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I think